Hello everyone. This is a scripting lab for ITS 372. So for ITS 372, okay, and this is going to be for the lab lecture on March 25th, 2020. I'm Professor Calix. Okay, and today I'm going to give you two scripting exercises in Python on Linux. All right, we're going to continue with our theme of file system. So if you remember, we've been looking at the file system. All right, and today I'm going to give you two exercises on basically how to navigate the file system, how to get information. So if you remember in the previous lab, we had two computers and we were copying basically the file system of one computer into another. So now we're going to assume that we've copied it, we have the file system, right, like that. And so we're going to explore ways in which we can navigate through this file system. And so you will have basically two scripting problems, okay? So watch this video carefully. I'm going to create a Dropbox on Blackboard for this specific task where you will submit your solutions to these two problems. So I'm going to give you just the starter code. I will also post the starter code on GitHub. You can download it from there, and then you can complete the problems on your own. They're both somewhat similar. One will relate to using regular expressions, the RE module in Python. So you're going to do RE. Excuse me. And then the other one will relate to permissions in Python. So as I said, you'll have to figure out a few aspects of it as usual, but it'll make it interesting for you that way. Okay, so I'm going to get started. I'm going to switch over to the Ubuntu virtual machine. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to our virtual. Okay, so I have the machine open already. As you can see, I'm using seed Ubuntu 1604. I'm going to switch to full screen. All right, so here we can get started. I'm going to I'm going to open up a terminal here. Okay, so I'm opening up a terminal. Okay, and as usual, I'm going to navigate. I'm going to navigate to the desktop. So I'm going to do cd desktop. Okay, I'm going to do clear here. Okay, and we've been working on, so since both classes are looking at this, both sections, usually for the 2 o'clock section, I've been using this folder, and then for the 4 o'clock section, I've been using this folder. However, since both are looking basically at the same video, I'm just going to do everything in the first section. Okay, so I'm going to navigate into that folder. Okay. All right, if you remember, we had some scripts in here. All right, so I'm going to create a new folder, KDIR, and I'm going to call this one file system. All right, just to remember that this is related to this week. All right, then I'm going to up arrow and I'm going to CD into that file system. So I'm going to hit clear here. Okay, and there we go. So I have no file. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the first file. So as I said, I'm just going to give you the starter code, and basically you have to complete the code, get it to run, and understand, if you have any questions about anything, kind of research some of the concepts. All right, so I'm going to call this, search, file. So search, let's just call it search file. Oops, search file.py. Okay, and so I'm going to import some libraries. So you can see I'm adding a few additional libraries here for Python, some that you've seen before and some that you hadn't seen before. Okay, and commands as well. All right, so we have a few libraries in there. So basically the idea, let's give this a comment. We're going to say that this script is for getting search patterns, right? So remember now you have your data. Now you want to look for patterns so getting search patterns and searching. Okay, so that's the first step. Since we might get errors here, as usual, I recommend to use the try catch or try except in Python. If we have an exception, remember the indentation 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to print out a message and I'm just going to say there was a problem or error, right? So something simple. But if there's nothing, then we're just going to continue. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and so now we're going to start writing the code. So let's say we have a pattern, and I'm going to take a raw input. Raw input is a way of taking data from the console. So we're going to say, enter file pattern to search. And so enter file pattern to search. Okay, so we're going to do that. Okay, or to search for, let's say. So enter file pattern to search for. Let's add a this is a new line character, it's like an enter, so it moves to the new line. So I added that string, and so let's just run it. Let's just see, what it looks like. I like to try my code as I'm writing it. So I'm going to say Python. All right, enter file pattern to search. So we're going to say something like .py, right? So we're going to have some Python files, maybe. All right, and it executes. Good. So I'm going to create another, test1.py, and I'm just going to say print hello world. World, right? I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to create another one, test2.txt. Right? So the idea is that it should search for that particular pattern, a wildcard.py. I only have one Python file, so it should only search for that one. But so now I have, if you notice, I have two files in here, plus the Python. Actually, there's two. If I run this in this folder, it's actually two Python files, and then there's one txt file. All right, good. So let's go back to the code. All right, so we're back here. So now I'm going to, and this should be, sorry, this should say pattern. All right, and now, now I'm going to do a command string that I want to run. So imagine what you would type on the terminal, right? So command string equal find. Notice that this is basically as if you were typing it. You're just piecing together a string here, and you specify that you want the find command to use that pattern that we just got from raw input. All right, then once you've completed that, I'm going to create a command output, and I'm going to assign to it commands dot get output. All right? Commands.getOutput, and I'm going to basically give it the command string. All right, so this will allow me to actually run the command and also get information that gets stored in the command string. So this is just another way of running commands in Python. Another library, as I said, I've said many times in the course, there's always a lot of ways to do anything in Python. All right, so now that I have this, I'm going to take another variable, find results, right? And I'm going to, apply the string module, and I'm going to do a split of whatever the contents are of command output. All right, I'm going to split on new line. Okay, so I have that done. And so now I'm going to print out. So now print out, and put a little message here, print out the permissions, for instance, of specific files. We're going to print out permissions. All right, so to do that, first I'm going to print the word files, right, just to indicate that these would be the files. So print files. Then I'm going to do print whatever is in command output, just so I have it as well. So command output. Okay, make sure the O is uppercase. Then I'm going to do, maybe some separators here. Okay. And then finally, this will be a little bit of somewhat long code. Let me get rid of the spaces because I want to make sure this all fits as much as possible on the screen. All right, so now the next step is I'm going to do for file in find results, right? So for file in find results, I'm going to iterate through everything that I have in my find results here. Okay, so let's just do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to do print file. So let's just run that and let's see what happens. All right, so I'm going to do Control X, Y, and then I'm going to run this. Pattern is .py. Error. Didn't work. Okay. So what is the error? So let's scroll up here. Pattern, this worked. And then the command string should have worked. Then commands, get output, command string, that should have worked. Oh, I have a typo here. And then this should be command output, so hopefully that'll fix it. Okay, again, .py. Oh, there we go. All right, and as you can see, I found my 2 Python files, search py, and then they are. All right, great, so we're in good shape. All right, so let's keep going. So now that I have the files, I'm going to delete this. I don't need to. All right, so now here's the part that you will have to research. So I'm going to give you a little bit of code, and you have to get this to work and also describe what it does. So get an understanding. So I'm going to use the library stat. You can see that one over here, stat. So I'm going to stat the file. So mode stat dot s underscore imode. Okay. And then from that, I'm going to type os dot lstat. Okay, lstat. And I'm going to plug in the file. So this file name here gets plugged in here. Okay. File. And then we specify within this that it's a type of an array that we want stat dot st mode. All right, so this is what you have to research. You know what this is doing. It's basically, I can tell you already just briefly that it allows you to get information about the permissions of the file. So we're getting all the things that we usually get when we do ls-l. But I want you, so I'm going to say here research this topic, which basically means this command. Okay. All right, so that's part of your assignment. All right, and then once we have that mode, we're going to print out. So I'm going to say print permissions for file. Okay, and then you can basically print out the name of the file. You should probably add a space here. All right, so let's run this code. And again, .py. And you can see that that's working. It prints the two files, and now it's printing the permissions of it. All right, so we still need to get this to work though. Okay, so this is, I'm just going to give you so how can I do this? So we need to print out the permissions using this information. Yeah, so there's really no, I'll help you out. So I'm just going to say for level, and this will relate to whether this is a user, a group, or other. So for level in, and now I'm going to create a list of possible options. So I'm going to say user, comma, group, comma, and other, right? So these are the three options. So you're going to navigate through all the levels, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the permissions. So for perm, let's say in, and again I can use the same approach, read, comma, write, comma, execute, right? So I have the three permissions as well. So now you have to, you will have to use, so you will have to do something like this. So no, you have these, so now 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're going to print mode, okay, for that individual file, and you're going to print, stat. So let's try that. So I'm going to do mode. I'm going to do control. Let me take out this last line here. All right, so control X, Y. All right, so now I'm going to run script. Again, type py. And you can see here it starts to give you information, right? So you're going to have to, that mode, you're going to have to decipher what that is, okay? So I'm going to leave that to you to investigate. Remember that that mode is coming from a previous command. Okay, so given this information, you're going to have to figure out the rest, okay? So I'm leaving the rest to you. So I've given you this information. And I want you basically, as you might imagine, for every file that meets that criteria, being a Python file, that you're going to print out information about the user group other and the permissions read, write, and execute. Okay? So that's the basic problem, the basic requirement for this problem. Another thing you might consider is getting information from stat. So you might consider also using stat in some way. So stat can be used you know, you can take a look at it. For instance, if I do Control X, Y, again I have to type this. All right, and you can see that there. You know, this is a module as well. Okay, stats. So you can consider using that script or that module to get more information about the file. But at the end of the day, I want you guys, as I said, to use this command to navigate and find specific files and then print out the permissions. All right, so maybe I'll just write here in this line, now, oops, sorry, the comment, now print out the permissions for the files that meet the search criteria. e.g. .py. Okay, so this is your first problem for this assignment, so I hope it's clear. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it there, and now I'm going to move to the next problem. All right, so the next problem should be a little bit simpler. So let's let me exit out of this file. Okay, there we go. Great. So now let's move on to the next script. So the next script is a regular expression and file search. All right, so a similar idea. So I'm going to do clear here. Okay, and I'm going to do ls-l. I'm going to call this script search underscore re.py. All right, so I'm going to do this script here. Similar idea, I'm going to import OS. Now here, notice I'm importing RE. RE is the Python regular expression module. Okay, so it's going to be the regular Python regular expression module. So you can specify here a search path, right, to simplify things. Although you could search the entire root system just by doing that, or the file system. But, you know, do something like home, and then where you know, seed, and then the desktop, for instance. Okay? So once you have the path, you're going to get the data. Okay, so again, we're searching the file system, so get the data. So this is another way of doing this. So we have a for loop. We're going to say for file name. For file name. So for file name in os dot list directory. All right, and we're going to specify the path. So that basically allows you to search that directory, and we're going to list all the contents of it. So then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to create a path name for each file since I have the path name. So it's basically just a concatenation. I'm going to do os.path.join. And I'm going to join the path variable and the current file name that we're looping through. Okay, so in our current iteration. And then I can check if the file actually exists. So I can say if os.path.isFile, right? So if that's the case, I'm going to check path name. Okay. So, and then this should have a colon. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So if that's the case, then I'm going to open the file. So f open, right? And I'm going to do path name, comma, read. Okay. So that's, I open the file over there. So I'm iterating through all the files in that folder. You might consider putting a / here. Consider that. It might give you an error if you have it or if you don't, but just check for that. All right, and then once I've done that, let's do a test here. I'm just going to do print path name, kind of print out the path names. So let's go ahead and actually, I'm going to change this folder to be 2020. So let me Control X. So remember, PWD gives the current path. So in this case, probably this. So I'm going to copy that. All right. So that should just take us into the current folder that we're working on. And then now I'm going to print the path names. So I'm going to do Control X, Y, Enter. All right, now I'm going to run this one. All right. And there you go. It printed out the 4 files, right? We have 3 Python files now, or 3 Python scripts, and we have 1 text file. Great. So we're almost done. I just want to show you a few little things, and then I'm going to give you the assignment. So basically, the assignment, let's look at this. I'm going to do print, and then I'm going to do re.findAll, and I'm going to give this 2 parameters. So one parameter will be a regular expression. A regular expression is a sequence of characters where you want to match something. So for instance, if I say something like this, it means it could be either an L, an uppercase, or a lowercase l. But if it's outside the brackets, then it has to be in there. And these, the information that goes in here with regular expressions could be quite extensive. You can specify all kinds of things, sequences of numbers, sequences of letters, combinations, etc. But this is just one example of our regular expression. So I'm going to look for occurrences of this in length is the length. This is just a string that I'm piecing together here. So now let's see what re.findAll does. So I'm going to do Control X, Y, Enter, run it. And you can see that it actually found it, right? That's, the find all, you gave it a string that you were looking for. Basically, it's like you were saying in human language, you were saying, find all occurrences of leng where the L could be uppercase or lowercase. And you can see it found it. All right, so that's really what I want you to do with this example. So I'm going to ask you to use this RE to find specific information in the files that you're searching through, okay? So I'll give you a little bit more here. Once we have the files, you want to read the contents of each file. So one way of doing it is to do for line in f.readLines, right? And this will allow us to now have the content. So now with this for loop, we can iterate through all the lines in every single file individually. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All All right, so I'm just going to do print line. All right, so if I run this now, you can see it printed out the contents of all the files. In itself, it's printing out even the scripts, right? The code that's inside all of those files. So that's really handy. Great. So I think it's probably at this point very obvious what I'm going to ask you to do, right? So what I want you to do from this point on is I'll just say one last thing. Usually whenever you open a file, don't forget to close it. So f.close. Good practice. All right, but in between here, so I'm just going to leave a comment. And this is the part that you have to complete. So I'm going to say, now that you have the contents of the file, of each file, use the RE module, which is the one that I just provided below, right? So this one, use the RE module to search a specific pattern. Okay? So that's the second problem. So this is the second problem that you're responsible for this lab assignment. All right, this concludes this video on scripting and doing searches in the file system. This is part of your lecture this week for file system analysis. All right, so I'm going to save it. All right, and that concludes this lab. So I'm just going to go ahead and close it. All right, so thank you. I should say that I'm going to create a separate Dropbox for this in Blackboard under the File System Analysis folder. And so you'll have 1 week to complete this assignment. So this will be due 1 week from today, along with everything else that we have done. And the video will appear in the File System Analysis of March on the calendar on March 25th.